Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. I want to talk about something very, very important that is constantly something we return to when we're seeking peace, no matter what we're doing. Compulsion of any kind, really. These are foggy kind of change the channel moments that really seem to work briefly. Eating and all the other huge list of things that people can do to kind of compulsively change your mind, change what your orientation is, overlook something. But here's the tricky part. When you sweep something under the rug or kind of numb yourself out against some sort of pain or suffering, you seem to lengthen the amount of time, or it's unresolved, it's kind of unfinished, unhealed, still there, stuck down way under the rug or in that closet, even if the door's locked and shut tight. Something about it isn't out in the open and seems to be repeating itself by returning. So I wanted to share something very, very simple, but that repeats itself among many, many different teachers and philosophies and ideas about the human psyche and human nature, and that is to name your feeling. So simply in doing the work, one thing I found, I have this little ebook on 4 ways that you could keep yourself stayed closely connected to just simple self-inquiry, doing the work of Byron Katie, when it seems like it's not working, or you're just driving your car, doing the work in your head, or you forget to do the work, which is what my experience was all the time. And the second point in those 4 pillars is to feel. And this is what I wanted to spend a little time with today, exploring and sharing with you what I've learned. And, big recommendation, naming the feeling, naming it. There's something about using your language in writing or speaking that can change the way you think of everything around that feeling and the connection to the feeling. It's almost like using your words, which is profound way of expressing, using words and naming that feeling that you are having, and then what it's connected to, what sparked the feeling, what drove it, what invented that feeling into being. When you can name that, the feeling, then you're able to see a little more clearly what it is that passed through your mind or what it is that seems unresolved. In the Eating Peace process, this more of an immersion online, I share a story in one of the presentations at the beginning where it's from Africa, where there's a collection of animals needing to learn to live and eat and not starve to death. Kind of metaphor, a great metaphor. And here we are in this eating, not starving. We don't want to starve, and we don't want to overstuff ourselves and be filled with that ghost hunger that doesn't ever get satisfied. And basically in the story, they have to name a tree that provides fruit. And it's wonderful. There's other tales that are from all over the world where there's a name for something is given. And in this case, what I'm speaking of today is the feeling. Now, sometimes back long ago when I was in group therapy, I loved the simple awareness that we would sometimes joke and the therapist would laugh about from time to time, which is there's really 4 core feelings: mad, sad, glad, scared. You can, the umbrella of any one of those, that's what we feel. And there's so many beautiful words, though, that just describe feelings a little bit differently, aren't there? I mean, volumes of words that can, bring nuance to the feeling that's going on, or the level of the feeling that we have. Terror is like just such extreme fear. You're frozen or practically feel like you're going to die in your physiology. And just a little teensy tad of anxiety, still part of a fear kind of feeling, but far less, just a little nervousness. Way less. Volume dial is turned so far down. So we have different words, very different words. But naming this feeling and seeing, oh, what is that? It's like being in touch first with the compass that's showing you, it's your clue for what else is going on in your mind. And I find ultimately eating peace, thinking peace, to be able to make peace, feel a sense of calm or acceptance, surrender with whatever it is that is in the mind that produces that feeling, is going to be really the answer, the relaxation, the freedom that we all want to feel. A capacity for the full range of human feelings, but not to get sort of surprised or broadsided by fear or terror or anxiety or extreme sadness or just a sense of nervousness when it's not matching what's happening in the present moment. I mean, there's pain. Pain is real. Pain happens. There's things that are extremely painful emotionally and physically, physiologically, things that are very painful. But the suffering is when it is sort of lengthened, drawn out, like I'm still rehashing that thing that happened, my divorce 15 years ago. And that's the thing, like, how can I find some peace and balance with that? Because it is over. But something in my mind thinks that it isn't. How does this relate to eating and compulsion? Often, when, that experience of deep emotional eating that comes out of some sort of feeling, it's got a useful place. It really does help you numb out or change the channel or find some comfort or sweetness. I just want a little sweetness in this moment. And there's sugar, right? Whatever. But if, you can acknowledge yourself and sort of even be very, very forgiving and open-minded about you finding that way of it, to turn towards something that'll give some immediate calm. Perfectly normal and very common. You are not alone. That so many humans choose to seek something to relax themselves, or to find some sort of balance in their present moment when it comes to like a past memory or something that feels, like it's looming, something unresolved. So that's normal, and even a great thing that you've learned that and done that. And now maybe you're ready to name the feeling more closely and see what it is that would have produced this feeling. Sometimes as you write, how am I really feeling? Notice where it is in the body. These things show up right inside this body. You might have a stomachache because of anxiety, or a feeling like tense in your neck and your shoulders. I've had that sometimes when I'm preparing for a retreat or creating a program and I'm really getting even excited. It's favorable that it's coming, but I'm also like, there's a high stakes somehow or whatever. I notice, like sort of a adrenaline generating inside the body. And it's great I know that if that becomes strong, then I need to look and see what are the thoughts that are related. What's going on there? Why am I having more nervousness? What is it that I really want? And it's great to look and see, name it. Naming the feeling, here is how I feel. This is where I feel it, is such a great opener into leading where the feeling comes from. So I talk sometimes from time to time about that order of creation. It's been in various different philosophies and thought leaders and looking and studying human psychology. The first place I came across it is in an educational study about children, really looking long-term study about children and their responses and reaction, behavior, and learning in a group in Canada. But the order of creation, think, feel, act, and then you've got the thing created. You've got the result. But it starts with thought, which is so brilliant for the work of Byron Katie, because we are identifying that we feel stress, which is, stage number 2, right? In the order of that. linear order. The mind loves that, but it's helpful. So we can move back into number one. Okay, what caused that? Where would I have gotten that sensation? Sometimes I've noticed, I feel something really uncomfortable. And I'm like, what could that be? What's going on? I don't even know exactly. Oh, I had that conversation and I had this feeling for a minute like that person was not pleased, or there was something that I could do to, assist that moment, or I felt really sad about that news. And then I just notice that's kind of sitting with me as I go about my business during the day. And if I let it go too unconscious, then the feeling might remain intact and kind of reappear. So if you do that rug sweeping thing, which a compulsive act or behavior often pushes something else under the rug or into the closet or down in some other stored memory files, got all these files inside and it's keeping it stored right there in the back. So if you do that, it's just going to still exist and be there wanting to be seen. So it's so wonderful to sit and name your feelings. And one of the wonderful people who talks about forgiveness and resolving and settling in with your feelings, really having access to these things that have been very, very difficult, very painful, is the brilliant Desmond Tutu. I love Desmond Tutu and his, as you know, he's quite famous for peace, his learning and looking at peace. But he wrote a book called The Book of Forgiving. And I've had it on my bookshelf for a while. But I thought I'd share a little something with what he shares today about naming your feelings, because he talks about it too, just like many people have. Their recommendations are high for naming your feeling. But he says here, while human emotions are universal, they often exist below our consciousness. The emotional regions of the brain, scientists remind us, are older than the intellectual regions of the brain. We had feelings before we could express them. This is often still the case, and we don't always have the vocabulary to express our feelings. The more conversant and comfortable you can be with your emotions, the richer your experience of life will be, and the more capable you will be of forgiving. And that includes of you. And this whole eating thing and body image and weight going up and down and stuffing yourself or starving yourself or being on these crazy cycles. So just today, what can you do for today is maybe you can look up a few words in the dictionary for feelings, other nuances and different words for feelings. Take a look at them. Just see how it is that you feel in your body. The beautiful Desmond Tutu suggests sitting with yourself for 15 minutes at the end of every day. That's what he likes to do. And notice how you feel. Perhaps you could write it down. I always encourage there to be journal writing going on, journaling, because to give word, to name, is the way to communicate. It doesn't matter what language it's in. In every language, there are going to be multiple words for feelings. And the beauty of that and studying that in how you know how to express is incredible, and something that's existed in humankind, being able to speak and talk, communicate, connect in whatever way that shows up. I suppose it could even be done in sign language, of course. But just naming, so that you see the images and the pictures and the memories, and let the named feeling, I feel a little anxious. Where do you feel it in your body? It will begin to show you what the memory is that you may need to heal. And such good news, because if you see moments that have either very recently caused some sort of feeling to appear inside your body, inside your mind, inside your heart, or something long ago as you remember it that has caused something to appear, this other image, then you know where to go with your own self-inquiry. You need to study and investigate that memory. I know it can be really hard and seem difficult and painful, because you're going back to the source, like the wound, the offense, the sting, the hurt that happened there, the terror, the fear, the frightening moment. But you just see if you can push the pause button on that video and remember that you're safe right now and look at that interaction that occurred. Just look and see what was there. And then you'll begin to investigate and explore that. And the work, these 4 questions and turning things around, are the most profound, speedy, laser sharp, direct way to explore what it is you believed out of that memory, out of that experience, out of that interchange with somebody else. I mean, you can just take one concept that appeared that seemed to be really true and then take it through inquiry. So, for example, if I noticed a little bit of anxiety this week, or a little sort of jumpiness in like my diaphragm area and my rib cage, and kind of like a worry, maybe even in the back of the throat, slightly dry mouth, and I realized, oh, I'm pretty excited about traveling with 2 of my sisters and my mother, which is going to happen tomorrow at the making of this video, on a very special journey where we're going to be remembering and honoring my father of my 2 sisters as well, and probably bumping into some things that are bittersweet. The great grief of losing somebody that you treasure and admire so much, which was our father, a very wonderful man, many, many years ago. We're going to the homeland of where the ancestors came from. So it's a heart-opening experience, and of course I feel, this sort of the buzz of that. Now, if there was something like that happening and I felt more pain like I used to before I had done the work and explored about the absence of my father long ago. He died too young of leukemia. Don't like that. Well, what I did with those kinds of memories and situations and scenes is I named them. I wrote it down. I wrote down the story. I saw what it was I began to believe about life based on that happening, and what was really quite painful, but then what kept the suffering going, what kept it alive and repeated itself, and, a memory that felt kind of unfinished business. And I did the work on that. And it just really seems that as you begin to explore and investigate this kind of work deeply, moments, it doesn't even have to be such a huge moment as that, the death of a father. It can be that somebody looked at you the wrong way yesterday, and it seemed, it kind of made you a little irritated. So you can write that down. Here's my situation. Now I'm going to write down what thoughts I had about that moment. Then I've got these sentences that I've written, and I can take them deeply into inquiry. Is it really true that it happened that way, or that's what it means? Is that really true? How do I react when I believe that thought? I eat. Reaction, eating, emotional eating is almost always a reaction to some kind of uncomfortable, stressful, ongoing suffering belief, about people, places, things, the world. Who would I be without that story? Who would I be without that story, and using the imagination to actually bring that to life? So just for today, don't even worry about all those different steps and finding every situation that's ever bothered you or anything like that. Just simply begin to name a feeling or 2 that you have, even one, just one feeling that you notice you don't like having. Well, let's name it. Let's see where it comes from. What's its message? Why do you think you have that feeling? What is built up to produce this feeling in your body? What kind of memories or thoughts or stories do you have running that make this feeling come alive? That's going to be a gold mine for exploration and healing. Take care, everybody. Let me know how it goes.